Hello, everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of the Question Everything podcast with your host, Cameron Hogan. I've decided, after taking a few months off making podcast episodes, to revamp this podcast along with the newsletter and YouTube channel in a way that feels more aligned with how I want to take my social media presence going forward. I think this is going to be something that feels more congruent with how I want to share my thoughts and ideas with the world. So going forward, this podcast, Question Everything, along with the YouTube channel and a newsletter, are all going to be around life lessons that I am currently learning or have learned in the past, along with what I've learned from books. I've always been an avid reader, and I've learned a lot of things from people of the past through books that, when I apply to my life, has dramatically improved my day-to-day happiness, fulfillment levels, and I feel that it's very important to share that with you guys. So that's what we're going to be doing going forward. I'll occasionally have guests on still, like the past episodes, but those are going to be more intentional guests that I feel either embody or add on to the lessons and experiences that I'm talking about through my own personal development journey. So today I'm going to share with you the power of the word. I learned a lot of these lessons that I'm about to share with you through personal experience, through my own thoughts and ideas, and also by reading a chapter from my favorite book. I have it in front of me here, called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Man, this book is one of those books that I've read probably close to 100 times by now. And every time I read it, I feel like I have this newfound knowledge that I didn't understand the time before. Even though I've read those exact same words, it just felt different this time around. So there's this one chapter in particular, chapter 2, Be Impeccable with Your Word, that when I embody that lesson into my own personal life, I experience levels of joy and bliss that I didn't even know were possible before. So when it comes to this channel, when it comes to everything I do, I really am on a mission to make sure that people can achieve personal freedom. I don't just mean financial freedom. I don't just mean freedom to move out to Bali if you want to, or things like that. I mean also internal freedom. I've met a lot of people who have been very successful and have done very well in life externally, but internally they feel lost, disconnected, and at despair. And I was also in that situation not too long ago. And so I believe going forward that this podcast, newsletter, YouTube channel are going to be focused on personal freedom. And no book exemplifies that better than my personal Bible, pretty much, the 4 Agreements. So back to lesson of the day. I'm calling it the power of the word. It sounds very simple, be impeccable with your word, but I promise you, if you embody this, it's going to be very powerful. The words that come out of your mouth are the most powerful tool you have as a human. It's not just a sound or written symbol. It's the power that we have to express and communicate, to think, and thereby to create the events in our life. Our words are the only thing that we have complete control over in this human experience. This incredible power is also a double-edged sword, because your word can create the most beautiful dream, or your word can destroy everything around you. Your current reality is solely based on how you use your word. Your word can set you free or can enslave you for the rest of your life. I know this all sounds a little too philosophical, so I want to give you a few examples just to show you what I truly mean by this and how it may affect humans throughout history and also on a day-to-day basis. About 80 years ago, there was a man who lived in Germany who was able to manipulate an entire country of the world's most intelligent people into doing some of the most atrocious acts of violence the world has ever seen. He wasn't some god or even some Godzilla-like creature who had special powers to control the minds of millions of people. He was simply a man who understood the power of the word. He knew how to activate fear amongst the masses and then use that fear to go to war with the rest of the world. Even to this day, despite how advanced our civilization has become, we still choose to go to war with other humans simply because the words of a few men made us afraid of each other. Now I want to talk about planting seeds, right? I'll definitely go more in depth on this idea in the future, but it's important to know that the human mind is like fertile ground where seeds are constantly being planted. These seeds are new thoughts, opinions, and concepts that we learn from our own experiences and from what we hear from others. I really want to make sure that we all understand this and that every human's mind is fertile. We are always ready to learn something new, but only from the information that we are prepared to hear. You know how you watched a TV show years ago and then you rewatched it recently, and this time you picked up on a few, often sexual jokes that must not have registered in your brain the first time you watched the show? They didn't go back and edit the episode to throw in some more jokes. You simply did not have the life experience needed to understand it at the time. The same works for life lessons. You can watch the same show, you can read the same book, you can have a similar life experience, but now, and only now, is your mind ready to receive the lessons that were meant to be learned. Okay, so now that we got planting seeds out of the way, let me go back to the power of the word. Every human is a magician. We can either put a spell on someone with our word, or we can release someone from a spell. We cast spells on each other all the time with our own opinions. Okay, so the next example I'm about to share may seem far-fetched for some, but others will completely understand and resonate with it. Imagine I see an old friend who I haven't seen in a long time, and I share with them an opinion that just popped into my mind. I say something like, I see that kind of color in your face in people who are going to get cancer. If he listens to the words and agrees, in the not too distant future, he will have cancer. The opinions and beliefs that we share with others are the single most important tools we have as humans. Once we speak something onto ourselves, the world around us conspires to prove us correct. Have you ever met someone who claims they are the luckiest person alive? Everything just seems to go their way all the time. I would consider myself in this category, thankfully. I know many of you who also met people who view life in the complete opposite way. The ones that can never catch the break and believe the universe is conspiring against them to make their day worse. Both of these types of people are in much more control of their world than they think. They have both set different parameters for how they want the universe to treat them. One side seems to be a lot more enjoyable than the other. When you lead with inner belief, the outer world will follow. During our domestication or childhood, our family gives their opinions about us without even thinking. We believe these opinions and live in fear of them. Here, I want to give you another example here. Let's say there's a 7-year-old girl playing in an elementary school playground, and all of a sudden, another girl comes up to her and says, "Everybody look, this girl is ugly." The 7-year-old listens to that, then believes she is ugly, and then grows up always believing that she's unattractive. It doesn't matter how beautiful she is. As long as she listens to that opinion and believe it, it will then form into an agreement that she's made with herself. From now on, she believes she's ugly. She is now under a spell that could last a lifetime. Let me give you another real life example that I experienced the other day, right? So I was at my favorite local coffee shop, BGS, right down the street, and I witnessed someone introduce her son in the following way. She said, "This is Oliver. He is shy." If Oliver, the young little, probably 7-year-old Oliver, if Oliver listens and agrees to his mother, someone who he loves and trusts, describe him that way, he may ascribe the identity of being a shy person for years to come, no matter how extroverted he may be. By no means is this woman a terrible parent. It's just that the vast majority of people don't understand how powerful their words are. I see this play out all the time where, in my own life and the people I know, something happened to them, whether it was an elementary school bully or a parent who either on purpose tried to verbally and emotionally abuse their kids or just on accident, like this last example. We all believe things about ourselves that aren't actually true. Just because someone else casted a spell on us with their word, we still hold them true to this day, whether it's accurate or not. Now I'm going to give you a personal example that I experienced. When I was growing up, I had a group of friends that were mostly all family members that were extremely skinny, almost anorexic level skinny. And I remember I'd go over to their house all the time for pool parties, and often they would call me like overweight or fat or chubby. And looking back now as I'm older, I can see that I never really was. I was always kind of the similar frame and never was really overweight. But to them, being anorexic or near it, I don't want to say they have the medical condition, but near that, they looked at their friends that were anything over that as obese or overweight or chubby. And so oftentimes I'd go over there and they would always make fun of my weight, which was the first time that ever happened, because looking back, it was objectively not true. And because that is a part of our bodies that we oftentimes are more self-conscious of, and we have the thought in our mind that I may not be perfect in this area, and then someone externally reinforces that thought in our brain and says, yeah, internally, yeah, I must actually be chubby and fat, because externally this person is noticing it and told it to me. It reinforces this belief to us that we then make into an agreement. Now, we can go a little bit deeper and realize that those agreements are only really possible when it comes to more vulnerable parts of us, whether it's our singing voice or our intellect or how we look. And that may not be the case if you were to call me short, and I've always been 6'2", a pretty tall guy, and never really been insecure about my height, that may have affected me differently. But because he poked at something that is oftentimes a vulnerability to most people in this world, and especially me growing up, that reinforced an assumption which turned into an agreement I made with myself about how the world views me and how I view myself. And oftentimes you can look back into their lives, oftentimes in childhood or during their domestication, where something was said by one person one time, and whether it was explicitly to hurt them and hurt their feelings, or just a comment that was made by an aunt or a grandmother or even their best friend, that for the rest of their lives sticks with them and changes how they view themselves. So when I say magician, you are casting spells onto people that can affect them for their entire lives. That is the power of the word. One sentence can dramatically change how someone you love or hate, or anywhere in the middle, views themselves and then acts upon the world. So every day we go about life casting spells onto ourselves and others. Not being intentional with the choice of our words is the number one cause of human suffering. Let me say that again. Not being intentional with the choice of your words is the number one cause of human suffering. By no means am I expecting any human to be perfect at this and completely control every single word that comes out of their mouth at all times. We are still subject to the human condition, but in my personal experience, the more conscious I am about the words that I choose to project onto myself and the world around me, the happier I feel. So now let me cast a spell onto you. You have complete control over your thoughts, words, and actions. Your words are an incredible tool that can reshape your reality. Choose to create a world of beauty, love, and positivity every day by choosing your words correctly. The more ownership you take over your current reality, the closer you will be to achieving heaven on earth. You are much more powerful than you could ever believe. All right, thank you guys for making it all the way to the end. As always, I want to share my love, admiration, and appreciation with all of you. And I want you to expect episodes like this to come out every Saturday, where I talk about life lessons similar to these that have empowered me to gain personal freedom and obtain and maintain a life of joy and fulfillment. So if you liked it, please feel free to share. This will be on all the major podcast platforms, along as a video form on the YouTube channel, linked in below, and also a newsletter written form linked below. So love you all, and talk to you again soon.